You are about to discover the rare secrets that less than 3% of high achievers will ever tell you about morning routines. By the time you finish this video, you will understand exactly how to structure your first hour, how to prime your mind and body for domination, how to make every single day feel like an unfair advantage. Enjoy. This is your morning routine right now, and this is the morning routine you need to be following. What mindset do you need first? How do you make it automatic? And what habits will actually move the needle? That is what we will cover today. But before we can get into building the morning routine and making it automatic, we first need to cover the actual mindset you need to properly go into a morning routine. And here's the truth. There's 3 pillars of this mindset, and if you don't understand every single one consequentially, you will not be able, no matter how much you understand what I'm going to teach about building a morning routine, you will not understand the next section. So pay attention. The first of these 3 mindset pillars is that you need to understand what the actual goal of a morning routine is. So this is a huge debate online with self-improvement creators and hyper-optimizer, business gurus. All sort of people are tapping into this debate online. And I think you know which one it is, right? It's the debate between whether you should have a morning routine where you wake up and instantly go work, or you should have a morning routine where you prime yourself for work, you get in the right state of mind, and then you go work. There's this debate online about which one you should do, and all these idiots are missing one really simple answer. Just do both, because they're not in direct opposition. Obviously, yes, if you spend an hour priming yourself, you are no longer able to go immediately into work, but you can do both. Because here's the goal of a morning routine. This is the mindset you have to go into it. This is what we're trying to accomplish. The goal of a morning routine is to have a routine, a set of actions, a system that primes you for the day ahead and very quickly propels you into actual action to get that day started. And so it's kind of like a rocket. If you just launched a rocket without any preparations, it would fucking explode. But if you just never launched the rocket and constantly prepared it, it would fucking wear out, it would go old, it would be dysfunctional in all the time you took to prepare it in the first place. And so how do you launch a rocket? Well, you prepare it, you do your checkups right before launching it, and then you immediately launch it into action. You don't store it forever, and you also don't launch it immediately. And so if you imagine yourself as that rocket you're trying to propel through the day, then you need to prime yourself very quickly, get yourself ready very quickly, and then propel yourself into high leverage action. By the way, leverage in this sense is what you get for the time and effort you put in. And so we want a morning routine that's giving us the most bang for our buck. But how are we actually going to go about doing this? Well, that's where mindset pillar number 2 comes in. If you approach your morning routine with the mindset you have right now, even now that you understand what the goal of a morning routine is, you will still fail. Here's why. I want you to imagine 2 gym rats. Johnny and Steve, that's what we're gonna call them. Johnny is your traditional gym rat. He goes to the gym, he has a pretty good gym program. In fact, he has the same gym program as Steve. But he goes to the gym, and when he's working out, he pays attention. What he measures, what he's trying to improve is his form, his personal records, and volume per lift. So I did 12 reps of 100 pounds, I did 1,200 volumes on my biceps. Now I have to do 1,300 the next day, right? And so what sort of physique do you think Johnny gets in a year? He gets a pretty good physique. He gains a fair amount of muscle. He gets far more functionally stronger because he's focusing on the things that actually move the needle. But Steve comes into the gym and he has the exact same program. And Steve has a worse physique than Johnny. But it can't be the program because they have the same program. So then what is it? Well, here's the thing. When Steve goes into the gym, he doesn't focus on PRs and volume and form. Now that shit is gay and stupid to him. How he measures a good workout is how hard he was sweating and how pumped he felt. And I don't mean like how much of a pump he had. No. How pumped up, how happy and excited and motivated he was for the workout. And so it's kind of obvious why Steve has a worse physique than Johnny, right? The reason is simple. One focused on actual quantifiable metrics that actually drive success, and the other focused on how he feels. You see, you go into your morning routine, and I know you do because this is what I did for so much of my life. We go into our morning routines and spend every second paying attention to how we felt, instead of the only objective metric that matters. Did you do the fucking morning routine? It doesn't matter how you felt. It doesn't matter if it took 5 minutes longer. Did you fucking do it? And did it drive the results you wanted? Right? You have to approach your morning routine like a scientist. You have to hypothesize, you have to test, you have to gather that data, and you have to hypothesize again till you have the perfect routine. Because guess what? You're not gonna have the perfect routine on first try. Then the last pillar is you have to take it slow and kill perfectionism. The issue isn't that you have a bad routine or a bad morning routine, it's that you never built one. You have to take it slow. And if you take it slow and you focus on what you did right, not what you did wrong, you will self-correct yourself and eventually build that routine you yearn for. But now that we have that covered, let's go into the actual important part. How do you actually build a morning routine? What habits and actions do you fill it with? And how do we make it automatic so that we can actually wake up on time, so that we can actually make sure that we're making the life-changing moves first thing in the morning, so that we can go to bed knowing we actually had a good day? How can we win the war in the first battle? Well, for you to understand how to do that, I need to teach you something no one, I promise, has ever talked to you about. And that is the science of morning routines. Because if you don't understand how morning routine to work and what issues make them fail, no matter what I teach you, you will never be able to build the lethal morning routine you dream of. These guys think that their morning routine fails because they just had a bad day, because they were tired, they weren't energized, they had bad luck, they had bad sleep, or some mystery force from the heavens is sabotaging them. But morning routine failure is actually almost never random, and it almost always goes down to 4 different issues. It happens for the exact same 4 reasons in the exact same order every single time. And once you see that your morning routine is made up of the 4 problems, this one big problem you can't really solve, but these 4 specific problems in a specific order, everything changes. Because you see, fundamentally, the issues with morning routines go like this. The first issue is actually waking up. The second issue you'll run into is actually staying up. The third issue you'll run into is actually doing the right things. And the fourth issue, which is not really an issue, but more the next step, is actually doing the right things undistracted. Most of you haven't even solved number 1, and yet you're trying to get to number 4. You're trying to optimize the wrong variable. And so let me tell you about the wake-up ritual I use to solve problem number 1. Because see, your body has natural wake-up triggers. And things that if you were a caveman sleeping in the wild wouldn't naturally trigger you to wake up and get hunting or whatever the hell. But the issue is that these wake-up triggers are timed on your circadian rhythm. And so it has to do with hormones that are timed to release at a certain time, or hormones that are timed to drop at a certain time, or different signals that are based on the time of the day that your body is looking for. And so what happens is that when you've been waking up at 7:30 or 7:30 to 8 every single day of your life, you try to wake up at 4:30, those signals are no longer there. And the big signal, which is CAR, cortisol awakening response, which by the way I will refer to as CAR for the rest of the video, but your cortisol awakening response, which is really the thing that actually wakes you up, which is just a spike in cortisol that happens when your body hits a certain time in the circadian rhythm that it tells itself it's time to wake up. That thing is delayed. And so when you wake up at 4:30, you have a whole 2.5 hours if you wake up at 6:30 every single day before you even get the CAR, because it's time to release at that time. And so when you wake up, you feel laggy, you feel like your reaction time is delayed, you feel like you're barely conscious, like you can barely even think straight. That's what we call sleep inertia. And to me, the way I functionally define sleep inertia, it's not how scientists will define it, but how I do. It's the delay between when you wake up and your CAR response. The delay between when you wake up and when you get that spike of cortisol and alertness, that is sleep inertia. And when you're first trying to change your morning routine and wake up earlier or later, it could take 90 minutes before you actually become alert. And so waking up, and as you'll see, staying up is really fucking hard in this state. So you have to make sure you're doing the right things. And so what I've learned to do is that since you're not going to get your genuine natural response of cortisol yet, because your body hasn't learned that this is a new time you're going to wake up to, what you have to do is give yourself an artificial cortisol awakening response, which does 2 things. It wakes you up, but it also sends signals to your brain that this is when we're going to get up. And thus the actual natural cortisol response starts to change to where you actually wake up faster. And so what do you have to do? Well, you have to use primal triggers of alertness to wake yourself up. And the first step is, I don't wake up to a fucking phone alarm, because that shit is cancerous. I bought a sunlight alarm, and I wake up to light and very soft sound, and I wake up gradually. And so I wake up at 4:30, the light starts shining around 4 a.m. I put that sunlight alarm across from my room. This already solves a big issue. If I want to turn off this alarm that's blasting and raping me with light and sound, I have to actually wake up and get out of bed. And so I've guaranteed at the very least that I'm going to wake up, because I've literally made it impossible for me not to. The second thing I do is I put this sunlight alarm right on my face for 3 minutes so that I get a bunch of light exposure. My sunlight alarm is about 10K lux, which is best you're gonna get if you're not just gonna go look at natural light outside. It's fucking pitch black at 4:30, so obviously I can't do that. The next thing I do is I drink some really fucking ice cold water, and I just try to move a little. And so by moving a little, by drinking cold water, by blasting my face with light, I'm doing all the things that would signal to my brain that, oh, this is when we're meant to wake up. And what this does is that for those first couple days, maybe that first couple week or two, it gives you an artificial cortisol spike, actually wakes you up. Wakes you up because you have to limit to physically move out of your bed, turn off the alarm, and then the series of steps, the light, the cold exposure, the movement, the getting your body started and drinking a bunch of water, all of those things give you a giant lump of cortisol, which makes you alert and actually allows you to actually stay up, because it breaks through the sleep inertia that's responsible for putting you to bed in the first place. But the next 2 problems are arguably harder than just waking up and staying up. So first, what do you actually do? What are the right things to do in the morning? In my opinion, the right thing to do is to accomplish 80% of your goals and habits within the morning. And I'm using a very vague rule because I'm not going to tell you that my morning routine is the best morning routine. My morning routine is the best morning routine for me. and you have to find that morning routine for you. See, so many of us think that if we just copy Hamza's or Tate's or someone else's morning routine, that's going to work for us. But we're different beings with different biomechanics, with different responsibilities, and so it just doesn't work that way. But what we all do need is a morning routine. And so the way that I've decided to build morning routines, the way that I've seen work best, is that you need to sit down and list all the things you have to do in a day, and then you have to put the most important ones in the morning. And so that the whole goal is that by the end of the morning routine, by 10 a.m., you can look at your list of tasks for the day and go, shit, I've got most of it done. So for example, this is my morning routine. I wake up, I do the wake up ritual, I pray, I eat after my first meal, I study for a bit because I'm taking some classes for insurance, or I work on the YouTube depending on the day. I then read, I eat again. And so if I were to show you my to-do list, it looks something like study the insurance course, pray in the morning and the night, read 30 minutes a day, work on YouTube, go to the gym, and meet macros. I eat enough calories, so I'm trying to gain some weight. And so by the end of the morning, and mind you, my morning is short. I don't have a lot of the mornings. I go to work at 7 a.m. By the end of my morning, from 4:30 to 7, I've read for 30 minutes. I've studied for the insurance course or worked on YouTube, either or. I've twice, which almost always comes out to about 1,600 calories, which is half of my macros. And I've prayed in the morning. And so what do I have left to do? Pray at night, work on YouTube, finish the other half of my calories. And I have from 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. to do that. You see how much those 3 hours of my life did for me? It cut out half of my responsibilities. And so if you could use your morning routines to accomplish most of your day, when you are most capable, most primed to do so, that is the best thing you could do. But then the next question becomes, how do you actually do that automatically and without being distracted and wasting time? And it comes down to two simple answers. The first one is environmental construction. You think about it like this. If I wanted to guarantee I would film a morning routine, what would I do? Well, I would put my phone right under my bed. I would wake up to one of those jarring ass iPhone alarms. I would not have a clue what I'm doing and not plan my day the night before. I would make sure I go to bed super late and try to wake up super early, because that's definitely realistically gonna happen. I would make sure I have a bunch of food all over, or snacks all over my room, so that I can just binge eat all fucking day, right? And then you said, and here's the thing, that's exactly what the fuck you do. And now obviously I know that your goal is not to purposely fail your morning routine, but you're setting up your environment to want to automatically guarantee you fail your morning routine. And so ask yourself this question: if you had to do everything in your power to guarantee do your morning routine, what would you do? You would take your phone out of your room and charge it fucking downstairs if you could. You would buy a sunlight alarm and you would put it across the room so you guarantee you wake up. You would have a wake up ritual so you guarantee you stay up. You would plan your day the night before so that you know exactly what you're doing every single morning. You would put this thing right on your desk so that you cannot miss it. You cannot miss your to-do list. You would, if you're like me and you pray first thing in the morning, have a prayer corner already set up and your prayer book set up and the candles and everything you're gonna do for your prayer already set up so that you don't have to set it up in the morning and that it's visually there to remind you of what to do. You would literally structure your room in a way that would guarantee that you actually will not fail. So that's step number one of making it automatic. The second step, and doing it without distractions, the second step is simply to make it a system. And so a system fundamentally is a series of actions all connected to one singular goal. Your morning routine is already kind of a system. You're just not treating it like that. And so what I would recommend you to do is that you have a series of actions in your morning routine that are all connected to each other, and that you set up your environment in a way that makes them flow. Explain how I do this. The way I set up my morning routine the night before is exactly like this. What I will do is I will plan my day. I will do some reflection, some journaling, then I'll plan my day. I will go and put my phone to charge far away, like in the kitchen, so that's not even near me. I will put a screen time blocker on my MacBook, because that always stays in my room, and so just to make sure I don't use it to brain rot, I put a screen time blocker on my MacBook. I put this thing on top of my MacBook, so I close my MacBook, put it on top, and I put this little prayer book I have right next to this book. I then put a bottle of water right fucking here, or right next to my sunlight alarm, because it changes places. Right now, my sunlight alarm is right on my desk. So I put it right next to my sunlight alarm. I put my creatine and my supplements right next to the water. So what do you think happens? Let's wake up at 4:30 because the light is fucking bothering me and the noise is annoying. And so even if I don't want to get up, I have to shut it down. I will see the fucking sunlight alarm and it's already shooting right into my eyes. So I'll put a 3-minute timer with a little clock I have. It should be on my desk somewhere. I wanted to show it to you. And I'll just blast my eyes with light. Then I see the water because it's right next to the alarm, and I see the supplement. So I take the supplement, I drink the water. Then I see my prayer book. You see how much easier it is to actually have a good morning routine if you just make it systematic, make sure your environment actually helps you. That is how you build a lethal morning routine.